everybody, and welcome back, or well, welcome to the Americas Division 2 race, or Tier 2 race I should be saying. We are here for the penultimate round of the season in Interlagos. If you're just joining us from the Tier 3 race just gone by, welcome. Hope it was a very entertaining and enjoyable race around this classic F1 circuit. We've got 20 drivers here for the Americas Tier 2. A few familiar faces if you're familiar with the Americas Tier 1. And as you can see there on the track map, a lot of drivers very keen to get out of the gates early. So we'll go through who is on this grid, as I believe that Mr. Will Gibson in the Haas car today, he will be taking us around the lap first. Yes, partnering Will Gibson is a Turtle Rave for the American squad. Then we have Gorzieg and Steph, the two Williams cars, Larkin and Holtz, two very familiar names in those Alfa Romeo cars. Then we have Babaton, the last week's race winner out in Mexico. He will be partnered by Rashid for the French team. Captain Minor and Hennes will take up the Alpha Tauri seats, with Jack 5 and Sidewinder in the Red Bulls, the Red Bull sister team. Chiri and Striffium, the two Ferraris for this race. Striffium, of course, a very familiar name around the MRL. We'll see what he's able to do. Civics and Paula for the two Mercedes. Wordad and Duke Kaboom, the two Racing Points. And the only team left, well, is the McLarens with Waffle and JA Games. Now, we'll actually see that Will Gibson actually goes a little bit too far inside, coming out of turn 3, so that is going to be an invalidated lap for the Haas car. So we'll have a quick look on with Steph. Fun fact, this is actually the second attempt of this lobby. In the first attempt, Steph got disqualified for blocking the pit lane, so very probably happy that he gets to actually set a lap time here. But coming into the middle sector of the lap now, this very long left-hander, it's very easy to lose the rear. As you can see, Steph proved my point there into what is, I believe, called the duckbill, when you translate it from Portuguese. And again, losing that rear end is that Williams car. It seems like it's pretty nice and stable. And then one of the most important corners on the entire track, and he messes it up really badly there. You don't want to touch that inside curve in the last proper corner, as it is flat out all the way to the start-finish line. He's actually going to abort that lap. So Turtle Rave is going to be the first driver to set a valid lap time. What's the time going to be? You want to hug it left-hand side for the shortest run. It is a 107.7 to start us off here in the session, as Rashid in the Renault car goes provisional pole with a 106.6 as the time's coming in thick and fast. Now Babaton, last week's race winner, with a 107.1. Then Sidewinder and Civics are only separated by 300ths there, but Civics on the medium compound tyre, as is Chiri there, with the slowest time, well, second slowest now out of all the runners, with a 108.172. We'll have a quick look at Wordad, as Wordad actually has invalidated his current lap. So Striffium in that Ferrari, we'll see what he's able to do. Currently 10 times on the board. We'll see what the Ferrari driver is able to do. Coming across the line, what's the time going to be? It's all the way up into 9th place, just ahead of his teammate with a 107.96, but a good 2.5 tenths. 2.5 tenths away from Turtle Rave in 8th. The yellow flag in Sector 2. Looks like one of the Renaults there just going on a little bit slowly. But yeah, the time's very close in this midfield especially. Well, if you look at Duke Kaboom in 5th place, 107.521, all the way down to 7th is within half a tenth of each other. We'll have a look at Paula, as she has invalidated her first attempt. JA Games, though, well, he's doing a little bit better going into the second sector of the lap. We'll see what he is able to do into turn, I believe it's turn 8, and now the left-hander of 9. And again, you can see drivers really struggling with that back end out of that long left-hander. The second gear now into what is I'm just going to call the duckbill for the entire race. Purple sector 2, though, is looking like a very decent lap, and he's gotten a lot better exit than we saw Steph do earlier before he aborted his lap. What can JA do? Of course, JA reserved in APAC his last race in MRL. And there we go, 9th place for the McLaren driver, 1 minute 7.812. So things really starting to shape up for this lower midfield, lower points scoring positions. Holtz making his way through the middle sector of the lap now. Just in front of him is Paula in that Mercedes, who also is on this medium compound tyre. So it looks like both Mercedes opted to get the mediums out of the way early. Maybe do the alternate strategy if they can get into that illustrious top 10. Or more likely like top 6 or top 8, because you don't really want to be caught in traffic. We'll see what Paula, the Mercedes driver, what she's able to do as she makes her way through the final sector of the lap, keeping it tight to the left-hand side. What's the time going to be on this medium compound? It's enough for 12th, getting just ahead of Cherry as Holtz right behind her goes into 7th with a 1 minute 7.541. Only 1,000th of a second, 1 millisecond between himself and Sidewinder in 6th. So very nice effort there from the Alfa Romeo. Of course, a race winner in America's Tier 1. No one can forget that that amazing Hungary race where both himself and I do believe it was one of the Red Bulls, Fizzimon. My memory's certainly right. Both of those guys going onto the softs with a late safety car on the drying track, and well, made that gamble work out very nicely. Will Gibson now got a bit of a drama in the last round for America's Tier 1 in Mexico. Having a little bit of an incident at the end of qualifying, costing Sejos what could have been a front row start. But we'll see what he's able to do in America's Tier 2. He's shown some pretty decent pace through the few rounds, I should say, that America's Tier 2 has been around. Of course, the first America's Tier 2 race, I do believe, was either Monza or Singapore. I can't exactly remember, but it's somewhere around there. But of course, up to Interlagos now. And Will, he's always been sort of there or thereabouts with the front runners. And, well, front runners he is certainly aiming for, as that's a purple middle sector for the Haas driver. We'll ride on board through this final sector of the lap, strumming up a little bit of speed on that ripple strip on the left-hand side. But we'll see what the time is, and it is not quite good enough for that provisional pole. It's a 966. The last of the 3 drivers so far to break that illustrious 107 barrier. Hopefully we see a few more do it. Jack 5 is right on the cusp with that, as well as Babaton and Steph have the capability to, as Turtle Rave, Gibson's teammate for this occasion, into 7th place now, or down to 8th, as, who was that? That was Civics, up into 4th place, now making himself the 4th driver to break the 107s, but only by 1 millisecond there, so 1 minute 6.999, but hey, it's a 106 regardless, and I'm sure he'll be quite pleased with that. Turtle Rave invalidating his next run. Wordad currently on a lap in the Racing Point, making his way through the middle sector. Towards the Doctor we go. The number 36 Racing Point car looking fairly solid all around today. Yet again, a purple middle sector, so I don't know if this is just the visual bug on our end, or if it really is just the pace that is available in this Racing Point. But we'll have a look if it's legitimate or not. Is the pace there? Sort of there. Slots right in front of his teammate, smack bang in the middle. They 1 minute 7.385. So now Gorzieg is the only driver yet to set a lap in a session. Just under 9 minutes remaining. If you're just joining us, welcome. Welcome to the America's Tier 2 race here around the Autodromo de Jose Carlos Pache. I practice my pronunciation of this track name. Often just shortened to the Interlagos circuit, or just Interlagos. But I believe that is the state, or where this track is, or city. Don't really have anyone to fact check me on that one, but there's a slow moving Ferrari. Looks like Striffia might have had a little bit of an issue on his next attempt of a flying lap, maybe getting on that inside curbing as the Ferrari driver Makes his way into the pit lane. I do believe he runs the number 94 from memory. A bit of a story behind that one as well, as Waffle actually has a damaged front wing. Not entirely sure how that one came about, but that is going to be another aborted run for that McLaren driver, as Babaton slots himself into 4th place with a 1 minute 6.976, 100th of a second behind Will Gibson. Goodness me. So very, very nice performance there. Now himself a race winner after, of course, his great win out in Mexico. See what he's able to do here. Looking good so far for both runners there, both within that top 4 and within only a few tenths of each other. So very, very nicely done between those two for the time being. But I don't believe anyone else is on a lap. Steph there, cutting some grass. Looking to get himself employed for Valtteri's lawn mowing services over in Austria. So Ferrari coming out of the pit lane. That will be Cheery on a set of soft compound tires. Currently sitting in a 17th place with a 1 minute 8.1 on those mediums. We should be seeing probably most drivers do a soft to medium as the strategy around here. Although if those, this is America's tier 2, and some of them might struggle with managing their rubber. So we'll see if anyone needs to go for that soft hard, or perhaps starting on those mediums and going to the medium hard if you're outside the 10. We'll have to wait and see, as Cherry about to start his next final lap. We'll just check in with him a little bit later. Jack 5 in the Red Bull car, making his way into the middle sector through the double right-handers. You can see Larkin there getting out of the way nice and early. Don't want to cause any issues in this part of the session, as does the McLaren of, I believe that must be JA, out there. But yeah, Jack now has clear track ahead of him. What's the split going to be? He's down a 10th going into the final sector, but it looks like a pretty clean last corner. Missed the apex slightly and got on that exit coating, which can be very slippy to get the power down, but we'll see how the lap is. He's continuing on, so he must have found some time now. Well, he found a little bit of time, but not enough to improve. He will stay with a 1 minute 7.018 in 6th place there. So he'll still have enough time for another run, barely. But enough time's enough. However, Cherry, the purple middle sector for the Ferrari. Could we see the Spaniard, who we're so used to seeing in a Haas car in America's Tier 1? Maybe this would be good practice for that race tomorrow. And here he goes. Cherry with a 1 minute 7.136, 300ths of a second behind Larkin in that Alfa Romeo. So things very, very tight on this grid, as you can see on the time tower. We'll get the gap to leader right now. First to 14th within the second. And JA just outside of that, so very, very nicely done. But you can see just the sheer intensity of this grid right now and just how tight it really, really is. One slip of the rear could mean multiple grid positions, and well, that's exactly what you love to see. You love to see drivers on the edge, pushing and getting every ounce that they can out of this car. Steph now on an outlap as we're looking through. It looks like Rashid putting on the wets in the pit lane. I don't think he'll be going out on those, but he currently sits on provisional pole with a 1 minute 6.642, just over a 10th between himself and Hennes on that front row. And speaking of the Alpha Tauris, Captain Minor, Hennes' teammate, going very slowly in this middle sector, so not quite sure what's going on, but he looks like he's turned it all up. So he'll be making his way down the main, well, sort of straight. There's actually technically, I think, 4 corners? 4 or 3 corners on, or in that last sector, discounting the proper corner of what I believe is turn 13. I'm not entirely sure on the corner numbers just yet, but if it's counting that final corner, I do believe there's actually 3 corners that are just flat out. But we'll call that the main straight for now because, well, it's flat out, and those corners don't really mean too much, unless, of course, it is raining. I haven't personally received a weather report for the race, but all these drivers on these soft compound tires, and some pretty competitive times as well, so it's safe to assume that there won't be any weather shenanigans. But we'll just have to wait and see. Captain Miner now going through into the final sector. What's the split going to be? He's up 2.5 tenths, so that's good enough to jump JA and Waffle, but not much else after that. So he's looking for that 15th place as Waffle heads into the pit lane. So he is done for the session. What can Captain Miner do as he comes across the line? It is 15th place for the AlphaTauri, 1 minute 7.664. Stryfium on his next attempt. We'll have to keep a close eye on him. But JA starting his lap now. He's the next McLaren to come across the timing line. Right behind him is the Renault of Babatond. Also about to start a lap, Rashid up half a tenth, as well as Duke Kaboom calling it there in the pit lane. Best he can hope for is 11th. The 1 minute 7.261. 100th of a second, both in front and behind him at the moment. But Sidewide on our lap, and Turtle Rev actually is on a lap, and well, he's a lot closer to finishing it than the other driver that we were on board with. We'll see what he is able to do in the Turtle Rev. Jumps up into 8th place, 1 minute 7.101, 8 milliseconds separating himself and Larkin. And we'll see Cheery yet on another attempt. So some of these drivers going for multiple runs, it would seem. Word that though he is invalidated. Waffle calls it there in the pit lane as a yellow flag as one of the Red Bulls. As Rashid goes even faster now, a 1 minute 6.577. Gibson there jumps Henners as well by 5 milliseconds. So we'll have a look with Henners as he makes his way through to the middle sector of the lap. He was up a fair bit, purple first sector, so he's really nailed that center S. Quite a difficult sequence of corners to get right, but this technical middle sector is where all the time is, ladies and gentlemen. Just how much speed can he carry? Can he get on the power nice and earlier? That fraction of a second earlier than he did the previous time. Paula facing the wrong way there on the infield. Just making sure that she stays out of the way of all these cars. Hennis has lost time though through the middle sector. He might get a tiny bit of a tow from this Red Bull in front of him as the checkered flag drops. We'll see what the time is. Is it going to be enough for pole position? I don't think so. No, but it's good enough for the front row. Hennes, a 106.607, jumps us up ahead of Will Gibson. Babaton now a massive snap out of the slow left-hander. Into the duckbill he goes. 3rd, 4th gear now up through the gears. The flat out, what I believe is turn 11. Or turn 12 and then into turn 13. He's actually going to get a tow from his teammate there. So great teamwork to see from the runners. This is going to bump him up quite a fair bit, looking to get on that front row with his teammate. Is it going to be enough? No, not quite. It's a purple last sector with the tow, but it isn't enough to improve. He will stay in 5th as Steph as well coming in 6th there. Just Sidewinder, he has invalidated his lap time, and well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our qualifying session over. So great job there from Rashid, the Renault driver there, taking pole position at a track that can be difficult to overtake. You do have that long DRS straight into turn 1, and of course the DRS into turn 4, but it's quite a narrow track which can make overtaking very difficult, and the way that the center S comes back in on itself. Of course, in an S shape, turns 1, 2, and 3 can be very challenging to make that move done if you are side by side into the braking zone. There we go, that is qualifying. Rashid and Hennes, your front row. Will Gibson will round out the top 3, and that is quite the lap time from the Renault driver. So very nicely done, and also some great teamwork there between the 2 Renaults as well. So 0.03 of a second is all the gap is between the 2 drivers on the front row. Rashid ahead of Hennes. Will Gibson there for Haas in 3rd. He will have Civics alongside him in that Mercedes. Babaton, last week's race winner, unable to improve with the massive toe that he got from his teammate, just made a couple of crucial errors in the middle sector. He will start 5th. Steph, 6th there for Williams. Jack 5 in 7th for Red Bull. Total Rave in Haas for 8th. Larkin and Holtz, the 2 Alfa Romeos, round out the top 10, with Cherry the first of the free tyre choice runners. Well, P11 said to be the second pole, followed by Sidewinder, Duke, Kaboom, JA Games, Wordad, Captain Miner, Waffle, Striffium, Paula, and Gauzy Egg will round out this grid. So unfortunate to see Striffium struggle yet again in this America's Tier 2 grid. Had a couple of issues, but you know, the race is where the points come out of. There's no points for qualifying just yet. We'll see how this sprint qualifying format goes. I don't believe there's going to be any points awarded for it, but it's clear skies here in Interlagos. And you can see the Ferrari garage having those hard tyres ready. So we'll see what these back 10 go for. The reverse strategy, the alternate strategy, I should say, can be very, very powerful here. The deficit to the mediums and the softs is quite pronounced at a short track like this. I do believe it's around 5 to 6 tenths from memory. And we saw how much Cherry and Paula were struggling with those medium compound tyres at the start of qualifying. So we'll see what the back 10 chooses to go for here, but it's shaping up to be a very, very entertaining race for, well, America's Tier 2. And if you're watching this live as we premiere it on YouTube, welcome all. Hope you enjoyed that qualifying session and the Tier 3 race if you were up and around to catch that one. Of course, their Rutanius sealing the title a couple of weeks ago, and actually quite a few titles already set in stone for this season of MRL, but there's still quite a few to play for. And watching the America's Tier 2 race before America's Tier 1 heads to the track in, well, it will be in a couple hours' time. So we'll see a few of these guys on both grids, the likes of Cherry, Holtz, Striffium, Gauzier used to be there, but you can be sure to see those guys in the America's Tier 1. See if Becky B can bounce back if he's even racing this one. And we'll see if Chris can close that gap that he needs to BTFU. And of course we have that fight for second in those standings. There's a predicted pit strategy, soft to hard there for our pole sitter. And we'll have a quick look at the tyres as well. So the mediums on Cherry in 11th, JA in 14th, and then Waffle down to Gauzier from 17th through the 20th inclusive. And it looks like there's actually a slow-moving Ferrari. Is that Striffium again? It looks like Striffium's had yet another issue, this time on the formation lap. So hopefully that's not a precursor for things to come. We saw him spin at this very corner he's going through right now in qualifying. Or at least going very slowly. We didn't actually see him spin. But one can assume, if he is, of course, in a Ferrari, and unfortunately is no stranger to it, as he shoots his way through the back part of the grid. But there we go, just Gauzier taking his grid slot as we are about to get things underway. 36 laps here in Interlagos. We have 5 lights on. And the lights are out. It's go, go, go. And it looks like a very, very bad start there for Hennes. Civics getting off to a great start already ahead of Will Gibson into turn 1. Now looking around the outside of Hennes into the center. As there's contact between the two. A little bit of a half slide there for Civics. But he does very well to catch that. That's one of the Haas guys. That's Turtle Rave going off at the center S there. So a horrible start there for the Haas driver. After he was looking very promising there. As it's side by side. Babaton looking around the outside of Will Gibson. Will Gibson pushing in there off the track slightly, but it's very, very narrow, this stretch of tarmac as they make their way into the second sector. And there's actually been an incident at the back between Paula and Gauzier. Paula getting a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. And we have a safety car on lap 1, ladies and gentlemen. So a safety car, we made it half a lap. And there was a lot of debris there on the track. JA Games picking up a 5-second time penalty for a small tap. under that safety car. But a great start there from our front two, and Civics actually as well, making up a place. We'll have a quick look at the position changes there. The big winners so far, well, it's Word Dad and Captain Minor. They're both up 4 positions into 11th and 12th respectively. Striffium up 3 as well. Glad to see it, but Cherry, his teammate, down 5. So very unfortunate to see. We'll have a quick look back there as Rashid actually dives it very early into the pit lane. Lap 1 safety car. We saw in a practice race Cody, some idiot. Some would say one of the kings on tyre management. Make a lap 1 safety car hard to last until around lap 34 before they popped. And we'll see Rashid try and do the same probably. There's a lot of drivers into the pits along with them. Duke and Boom getting that front wing change. Gauzier as well as Paula and Cherry getting another fresh sets of medium tyres on. As the Spaniard makes his way through. Probably all these guys needing a wing change. But we do have a lap 1 safety car. Quite an interesting first couple of laps. So Hennes leads things through now as Rashid went into the pits and comes out in 15th place. We said 16 there, but no, that's Duke Kaboom as he makes his way through turn 4. See on the track map. So yeah, Hennes will now lead them away. Civics in 2nd place, up 2 positions now after the pitters. Gibson, well, he lost the place off the start with Rashid heading into the pits. He regains his grid slot of 3rd. Babaton up 1, as is Steph and Jack 5. Up to 4th, 5th, and 6th. Larkin and Holtz, both Alfa Romeos up 2, so a great start from them as well. Sidewinder up 3, and then we have Wordan and Captain Minor up 5 apiece, with Striffium up 6, and he was able to keep his nose clean, and he's gotten off to a very strong start here, which is exactly what we love to see. So we will be going around for at least one more lap. We'll have to wait for Paula, who is in 20th place, as she makes her way into the final sector split now. We'll have to wait for her to catch up to this queue. Not much action happening just yet. We had quite a interesting first few corners. We saw that Hennes got off to a pretty shaky start, as did Will Gibson, and that allowed Civics to go through, but unfortunately a little bit of a side pod tap between Civics and Hennes. There was a little bit of a slide from the Mercedes, who actually did very well to keep that car going. Will Gibson catching a little bit of a break after a less than optimal start. Babaton looking around the outside of turn 4 as well. We saw that, just couldn't quite get it, and I'm sure that's not the last time that we will see a driver being pushed wide, just from the nature of turn 4. It doesn't really open itself up to a lot of racing, I should say. So it's quite tight. You can see on the track map, it's basically a straight 90-degree corner, and you're coming at it at such speed, and then it goes into this flat-out left-hander of turn 5. So drivers trying to carry as much speed as they can. But yeah, here we go. Safety car is coming in this lap, so Hennes in that AlphaTauri will become the de facto safety car and lead them away. He has to make sure that he keeps the pace consistent and doesn't do anything erratic on the safety car restart, and make sure that the safety car has adequate time to make itself into the pit lane. But you can see slowing things right down. The safety car is now in the pit lane, so it's all on Hennes when he wants to pull the pin, and there he goes. He's really gotten the jump on Civics behind, but Will Gibson right on the back of this Mercedes. This green flag racing, don't forget, for lap number 4 of 36, ladies and gentlemen, we have Will Gibson, massive lock up there on that front left going into turn 1, but he isn't quite able to get the move done. Striffium though fighting with Waffle around the outside of the center wrestler. That Waffle having a little bit of a slip, maybe putting a tire into the grass, and that's going to mean he's going to jump right down. But now Rashid on those fresh hards looking to make a move on Striffium, but Striffium using that battery to good effect, just trying to stay in front at least for another lap, but he misses the apex by a country mile there through turn number 4, makes himself vulnerable for turn number 5, but Rashid keeping himself composed into the middle sector of the lap. Of an exchange at the back of things between Turtle Rave and Paula. Turtle Rave getting a nice move there done on Paula into turn 6, but what a restart from Hennes. He has already almost pulled that 1 second gap that he needs, and DRS here is so powerful and so crucial that both Striffium and Civics need to make it there. As we actually saw another duel there, looks like Gauzier has damaged yet again. So Gorzieg, he had one issue at one start of the race, and he's had an issue on the restart as well. But you can just see on the track map how much Striffing is holding up these guys. And then Rashid using that battery now on the main straight as Hennes sets the fast lap. An easy move there from the Renault driver. He's now up into 12. And it looks like Striffing's actually coming back at him now. They're two side by side into turn 1. Rashid on the inside, Striffing around the outside, trying to hang it there. Gives him all the room, taps the grass a little bit. Rashid has the better run through now. Duke Kaboom trying to make his way through into turn number 3. Has the inside line. DRS not quite available yet for any of these drivers. Word down and Captain Minor having a tussle right in front of them, but it's now side by side for Striffium and Duke Kaboom going into the corner. Then to Waffle. Gets a little bit of a tap there, holding up his teammate now, J.A. Games, the two McLarens. Are they going to go side by side into turn 5 and 6? Well, 6 and 7, I should say. No, not quite, but Waffle, he gets a horrible run. Look at the switchback. Look at the move there from his teammate. And J.A. gets the move done. Amazing, amazing move there. And now Waffle has to worry about Turtle Rave. Waffle is losing positions left, right, and center, ladies and gentlemen. And it looks like Turtle Rave trying to make quick use of those soft tires and get back to at least a decent position there. Churi now getting past his Waffle yet again falls back to 19th. 19th place as Hennes sets a new fast lap, 1 minute 10.1. DRS is now enabled. You have quite a few close gaps in this back part of the field. JA has that DRS, well, the ERS, purple last sector with that massive tow from the Ferrari in front of him, but isn't quite able to find the move. Has to get off power through the center S and make sure that he stays within the limits. Something that Turtle Rave hasn't been able to do. He picks up his first 3-second time penalty of the evening, and the first of any driver on this grid. But things starting to really tighten up now as well at the front of things. Steph only a few tenths behind Will Gibson. Will keep riding on board with JF for the time being, as he is less than 2/10 of a second behind Striffium heading into the aero-dependent turn 6 and 7. And turn 8 now, very easy to lock that front right tyre, but he does well to get things stopped. Hopefully the gardening equipment in the background isn't too distracting if it's audible at all. But now DRS is enabled for all of these drivers, and we'll see if that means that there's going to be any moves there. The DRS straight now behind Will Gibson at the front of things, currently sitting in 3rd place, and you can see that red light is already flashing. The red light is already flashing as Steph sets a new fastest lap, beating out Hennes by a 10th of a second, 1 minute 10.015. A massive lockup again for Will Gibson, and he makes his way through. Steph has to go off the track, and he picks up his first time penalty of the evening. But can he make the extension work? Can he use that advantage that he gained and receive the penalty for to make it past? No, not quite. You can just see how narrow this track is and how short that straight is into the braking zone of turn number 4. But he has to keep one eye ahead and one eye behind him, as Babaton is just about as close to Steph as Steph is to Gibson. And a bit further down, there's actually another exchange. Look at Shuri and Turtle Rave going side by side into the fast right-hander of turn number 6. And Shuri, the Spaniard, makes his way through. Turtle Rave looking for a switchback similar to J.A. Games. And there's a tap. The two Ferraris as well going around. And Striffium has had a collision there with what looks like to be J.A. Games. Both of them off in the runoff area. And Striffium has a massive portion of that wing missing on that Ferrari. That's the worst thing if you're a Ferrari fan. The worst thing that you want to see, with Cherry getting tapped there from Turtle Rave and Striffium missing the entire right side portion of his front wing. So very, very unfortunate scenes there. Waffle trying to make amends, trying to get past Fuller now. He has a full battery in that reserve tank to make a move there on this Mercedes, and it's going to be very, very easy around the outside into turn 16, which I believe is actually the last corner. And there he goes into 15th place. Now Cherry next on his hit list as Turtle Rave and Striffium both heading into the pit lane. They could feasibly make the hards work to the end now, but at the front of things, Steph getting passed by Babaton as well. We'll get the tyres back on screen now. But yes, Babaton getting past Steph there on that previous occasion. Now he's looking to chase down Will Gibson and make his way back onto the podium places. Steph, I don't know quite what happened. Maybe it's just a question of the ERS. All of them quite even there, but Jack 5 behind him has doubled the ERS, ladies and gentlemen. He is sitting there on 60, nearly 70% now, as he makes his way through the last proper corner. And all these guys within DRS all the way down from 4th to what is 9th place at the moment within that 1 second gap. Steph now looking to take revenge on this Renault. He is right on the gearbox of Babaton going into the center S. Turn 1, can he get the run out of turn 2? He gets a better run, but the dirty air isn't doing him any favors. Babaton using some of that battery, it looks like, to good effect and trying to stay ahead of this Williams car going into the braking zone. He can't quite do it, neither can Larkin on Jack 5. You can just see the power of this DRS train. You can't really pass over here, but one mistake, and if you're at the front of this train, you're going to be losing a lot of positions at the moment. So it is crucial that all of these drivers do what they can to stay within that 1 second gap, as Turtle Ray picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So very, very unfortunate for him, and he is actually going to call it there and retire from the session. He will be our first retirement of this America's Tier 2 race. So far, Henna is 1.8 ahead of Civics, who's himself 1.5 ahead of Will Gibson. And then behind Will, you have a lot of angry drivers looking to make up places. Steph, again closing that gap, as is Larkin. Behind him is Larkin actually going around the outside into turn 1. We've seen Strickland and I can't exactly remember who, but they were fighting into this. I believe, I want to say a Waffle as well, but Larkin goes off track there at turn 3. Probably would be a warning there, but he's lost a lot of speed now. Jack 5 coming back out on DRS, ERS in full utilization. He is side by side now with the Alfa Romeo. Can't quite get the offboard shot, but Larkin holds it around the outside. Great defense there from the Alfa Romeo, just using everything that he has to stay in front of this Red Bull. But he has lost that 1 second gap. He needs to have a great middle sector with that little bit of clean air, with the little bit of a gap that he has, and make his way back. And it looks like he's already done it. Already down to 6/10 there as well. So great job from the Alfa Romeo driver. Looking back a little bit further, we have Werdad in his pursuit of Captain Minor. Captain Minor, the first driver to pick up a penalty. The only driver so far to pick up a penalty, along with Steph sitting in 5th place. But Werdad making his way into turn number 13. I'm 80, I'll say 80% confident that's actually turn 13. It's Babaton now setting the fastest lap, and he is getting past Will. Will on 0% battery as he made his way into the first braking zone. Babaton doing a little bit better to manage that battery. He's on a whole 10% more. And an early shift up to 8th gear for Will Gibson. It's going to mean that Babaton is going to hold on to that place. So now Babaton needs to push and make a gap to Will Gibson and use everything that he has to try and break that DRS. It can be very, very difficult to do, as Waffle becomes the third driver to pick up a time penalty for track limits. He's down in 15th place. Very, very nicely done there from him. Well, not nicely done for the time penalty, as Jack 5 will join the penalty club with a little cut into turn 8. So very, very unfortunate there for the Red Bull driver. But you can just see from this helicopter shot, all these cars within that train, within that DRS range. Will has done well to stay with Babaton, trying to harvest some of that ERS back. He can't afford to lose that DRS again. We saw how much pressure he was under without it. He doesn't want to live through that again. Currently the closest gap on this grid is the one you see on your screen, 3/10 between Gibson and Babaton. And again, we're seeing the double shift up into 8th lap, the second lap in a row. And he's going to be losing a lot of speed by doing that. He can't afford that at this rate. Meanwhile, behind them in the fight for the final point, Captain Minor looking around the outside of Werdad into the braking zone to turn 4. Werdad later on the brakes. Tries to squeeze out the Alpha Tauri. There's a tap, they're going wheel to wheel now, but Captain Minor somehow, some way, finds a way around the outside into turn 5, and that is the final points place for Captain Minor, despite the 3-second time penalty. He is 10th place on the track at the moment. Now Rashid trying to get past these battling soft runners. He's showing a lot of pace in that Renault car. 3.2 seconds. Has a little look up the inside of turn 11. And he's actually to get the move done there. Looks like Werdad might have just let him go. They both will have DRS because they're both just within that 1 second through the detection point. Yes, just about 9.5 tenths between Rashid and Captain Minor. And that rear wing will be in full utilization for the Renault driver. Werdad just trying to do his best to stay with the pole sitter. As you can there see on your screens, the pit window is now open for these medium compound tires. 12 laps is when the softs really start to hit the cliff. You really start to feel the difference. These drivers all been feeling the difference already for the past couple of laps, but now it is really pronounced despite the pace difference. Wordad actually doing a very good job to stay with the hard runner of Rashid. Of course, we saw that Rashid has that raw speed, the pole sitter, doing very well, but Hennes, I think, staying out there actually might have a little bit of a leg on him, as Rashid is now going to get stuck behind Captain Minor through this middle sector of the lap. But you can see on the bottom right hand screens, ladies and gentlemen, that he does have that spanner lit up. So he is planning to come into the pits. The crew are ready. But he decides to stay out again. What does Civics go? He goes for that undercut. Babaton stays out. Gibson stays out. Steph stays out to get past Larkin down into turn 1. But Larkin late on the brakes. He gets a tire on the grass. There's no grip out there, son. And he's going to lose that place to the Williams car. But Civic's the only driver of the front runners to dive into the pits, and he's actually put on a set of hard tires. So not quite able to make it there, as Sidewinder gets past Holtz into turn 4. So now the Red Bulls 6 and 7. Very nicely done there. And it's fixed. Well, he's going to be quite close with Cherry on the exit. Nothing quite doing there. Meanwhile, ahead of things as well, Wordad getting very close to the back of Captain Minor yet again into turn 8. Through turn 9 we go. It's in the flat out 10 into 11. I could be getting these quarter numbers just completely wrong, and I apologize for that if they are. But I believe that little kink is classified as corner. As a race leader, Hennes is now into the pit lane. Babaton will follow him suit. Will Gibson, they all are responding. And there's a tap there. There's a Haas end plate. There's a Haas end plate flying off that, Will Gibson's car. It's a little bit too late on the brakes, and he runs into the back of Babaton. And that is going to mean that he is going to have to replace that front wing, and he's going to lose all that track position and the train that he had there. But out of all these guys, looks like Steph, one of the only ones going on to the hards. Have a look at Civics now. He has made this undercut work. He is, held position. But I don't know if he got caught behind Cheery a little bit. It looks like that might have been the case. The gap between himself and Hennes has remained about equal. So the undercut not proving as effective as other tracks. Of course, we don't know if that's due to traffic or just the pace difference in fresh hards versus those worn softs. We'll have a little bit more data after Tier 3. And of course the Americas division for those guys in Tiers 2, 1 and APAC. Of course the teams trying to figure out the best way to maximize their points at every single race. Steph right on the back of Waffle. Waffle yet to stop in this race. Larkin and Sidewinder next to enter the pit lane to get off those old soft compound tires, making Jack the race leader for lap 16 of 36. Steph can't quite get the run that he needs. Waffle heading into the pits now as well off those 14 old mediums. Cherry staying out, one of the only other medium runners after that early pit stop. Striffium now joins the penalty club as well as JA Games. Both of them picking up 3 seconds apiece. And quite an interesting dilemma here. Hennes now, he's caught his first bit of traffic in the form of Duke Kaboom on those old hards going long. Pitted for them, of course, under that lap 1 safety car, as did Rashid, who is currently in second place. Hennes up the inside of the duckbill into turn 11. And, well, he's going to get that move done. Very nicely done there for the AlphaTauri. The Brit making his way into the top 4 and has a full battery to use. He's now going to look to catch up to the other Racing Point, who I do believe probably will be coming into the pits this lap. Jack 5 coming in, and there you go. You see the Racing Point of Wordad also jumping into the pits. So Alcrade now is your race leader. 3 seconds or so is the gap between himself and Hennes. 4.5 now as Rashid actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could be huge, because that means the gap is now reduced to 1.6 seconds on countback. And with fresh mediums against aged hards or scrubbed hards, it isn't going to be looking great for the Renault driver. The pole sitter has to really pick up the pace and really make sure he makes those tyres last to the end, as Will Gibson making his way past JA into turn number 4. There's actually another tussle there between Babatund and Shiri. Shiri there holding on to 4th place at the moment from the second Renault car. Technically the first Renault car from the black TV camera mounting. That's fun fact if you want to know which one's technically car 1 and car 2. Car 1 has black up the top and car 2 has a fluorescent yellow. So Babaton in that Renault car. ERS, DRS, so sort of the speed there from the Renault driver. Breezes past Cheery as Hennes the first driver to go into the 109s in the race with a 1 minute 9.4. And Babaton, 1 minute 9.6 the last time out. Top 4 within 10 seconds of the leader. But Cheery and yet to stop, and he will have to make another pit stop. Those mediums are not going to make it to the end of the race. And I dare say, well, Steph makes his way past Jack 5. They're now going side by side into the hard corners of turn 6 and 7. There's a half slide. He does very well to catch on another drift for the Red Bull. Has to catch it twice. And can he hold on to position from Larkin? It's looking unlikely. Larkin has the inside line for turn number 9. Jack, those tyres really screaming after those 2 drifts. There's a slight contact between himself and Steph. The Sidewinder, his teammate, now run on the back of him, as is Holt and the Alfa Romeo. The 2 Red Bulls and 2 Alfa Romeos having a large scrap here for what is 7th place on track. Well, yeah, 8th place, I should say, on the track at the moment. The 2 Red Bulls very, very close together. I don't think it'll be very, very difficult for him. As you can see there, wing damage for Jack 5. He's missing that right side end plate now. Larkin, or Sidewinder gets past one, goes for a dive on the other. And a massive dive. He has to push Larkin out of the way. And that's going to allow Jack 5, despite the wing damage, to make his way into the... Well, trying to get past Larkin, but it isn't quite going to be enough. Now Larkin looking for the attack, as is Holt. The 2 Alfa Romeos and Red Bulls going for a scrap. There's a slide. There's a slide. The 2 in front of them go around. And that is horrible, horrible news for both Larkin and Sidewinder, as both their teammates just witnessed firsthand getting through. And now Will Gibson on those fresh mediums, a fresh wing as well after that mistake on the pit entry. Looking around the outside, becomes inside for turn 10 into the braking zone of 11. And he is going to get that move done. Very, very nicely done there from the Haas driver. But what drama that we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, as Sidewinder again going very slowly, letting Waffle past in the middle sector of the lap. Calm things down a little bit. Sifix getting close. Has a look on Cherry, but can't quite find the move. Back to Jack 5. He's making his way around the outside this time into turn 1, despite the wing damage. A lack of downforce there. A lack of bite on that front end. Means that Gibson is able to get the better run through the SNRS and stay ahead. But he was ahead at the detection point as well, so Jack will have that DRS to try and close that gap just a little bit closer. A little bit further, but it isn't going to quite be enough. Will extending that gap to around 0.5 of a second. Civics now right on the back of Cherry. He's been stuck behind this Ferrari for quite some time now, and it's really showing the gap now to Hennes. We get the gap to leader and do some quick maths. The gap to Hennes now about 10 seconds when it was 2 for the around the pit stop phase. And is really making those medium tyres work. He's actually got himself within the the penalty window. Civics, I think this is going to be the time overtake, even though he's got 0 ERS. Overtake DRS, up the inside, and he gets it done. Does Churi have a response? He's low on battery, he's got low tyres as well, low grip in those mediums, but he's still got the speed. He's using everything that he can. He's gaining, but it isn't quite enough. Civics goes defensive to the middle of the track, and Cherry will have to look there as we have a yellow flag in sector 1. That is Wordad going for a bit of a spin into the center S. So very, very unfortunate for him to see him down and out for the count. At least in terms of points, he'll surely have to come into the pits and change that from him, because it's not just an end plate, ladies and gentlemen. It is a full left-hand side, well, some of the elements as well. It's all completely gone. It's got a couple of elements left, but not a lot. As you see, the two at the back going toe-to-toe. We've seen them get into a tussle and some bit of contact before. Hopefully this time they can keep it clean. Cheery now pulls it into the pit lane, presumably for a set of soft compound tyres. A sidewinder up the inside. Larkin, though, holds it around the outside. Did extend the track a little bit between turns 4 and 5. The Red Bull not going to be happy about that, sitting in that cockpit. But yeah, the Alfa Romeo holds on for now. That's the important thing. They are some 9 seconds off Gorzieg, the next car. Paula heading into the pits as well. They are a fair bit away, but they're having a little bit of a fight as well. Currently, these two are the only two drivers within that 1 second DRS range on the circuit. Everyone else above that 1 second gap. Looks like Gorzieg as well will make his way past Werdad. Werdad gets that wing replaced. Werdad actually might lose out to these two and drop to the back of this field. It looks like yes, he will. So very, very nicely done from these two. Unfortunate there for those at front. But Paula getting past Striffium now as well into the middle sector. Striffium on old soft compound tyres. He probably could make another set of soft stretch to the end of the race from here if he has another fresh set. I do suspect that we will be seeing the Ferrari driver make his way into the pit lane very, very soon. I am also told that this is his first race with a new direct drive wheel. So very, very exciting to see him upgrading his gear. Hopefully that brings him a bit more confidence and a bit more consistency. Because the consistency has been his issue as of late as he makes his way into the pit lane. Nice and early on the brakes. Gets things slowed down in time and avoids a 5-second penalty. The only driver to receive a 5-second penalty on the pit entry has been Turtle Rave. But unfortunately, Turtle Rave called it a bit early. We'll see where Striffium pops out. Fresh set of soft compound tyres. As Sidewinder takes the fastest lap away from Larkin, who set it just in front of him. Those two still going on with their little battle. Where is Striffium going to come out? He might come out. He's going to come out behind Rashid. So he is now a lap down, as well as Werdad, as Sidewinder. Jump up yet again. Can't quite make the move on Larkin into that turn 4 braking zone. That turn 4 braking zone really isn't the best spot to overtake. We're seeing a lot of overtaking done into turn 1, and just using that main straight with two McLarens going at it. I dare say we'll see a swap between those two. I don't think Waffle will make it too hard for his teammate to make it through. And there he goes, JA up into 12th place. He has a 7.5 second gap, but Waffle picks up yet another time penalty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, could open himself up to Paula. Paula, she's on those fresh softs. Waffle on those hard compound tyres. There is a big pace deficit between the two tyre compounds, I believe, from memory, it's about 1.1 seconds. And at a short track like this, that is a lot of time to be losing. Still about 12 laps left in this race as Rashid starts the 25th of 36 laps. So 11 laps to go after this one. The two McLarens still close together. JA trying to give Waffle some slipstream as well. And DRS. But it isn't going to quite be enough. Currently only one pair of drivers are sitting close to that DRS range, and that is, well, Larkin and Sidewinder. They've been going at it for the past few laps now. Ever since the pit stop phase, we saw both of them spin, and Larkin has a mistake there, losing the rear out of the duckbill, and, well, he has now lost that position to Sidewinder. And he might actually, if he doesn't take care on this exit, he's going to lose that DRS as well. He is just outside of it. 1.016 through the detection point, which is that one white line on the track that we just saw. And he is low on battery as well, so that could be the end of that scrap. But Captain Miner now making his inroads on Jack 5. He does have those time penalties, but as does Jack 5. A quick look at the penalties now. Captain Miner does have 6. The only other driver to have 6 is Waffle. Everyone else with a black and white flag next to their name has only 3 seconds now. We are now getting into the crunch time. Well, I've been watching a lot of NBA recently with the playoffs on, so the 4th quarter of this race. Or if you're a hockey fan, the final third. We'll see how things go. Captain Miner now, he is well within that range, as is Babaton on Duke Kaboom. You would believe that those two hard runners at the front, both him and Rashid in 1st and 3rd respectively, are going to try and make those tyres last to the end of things. Otherwise, they're just going to be losing time there. Hennes is the current race leader on countback. A purple middle sector there for the AlphaTauri as well. He is really, really pushing those tyres. He can now see the Renault car ahead of him. Going into the first corner. Improves. And I believe that might be a new fastest lap. No, not quite. Oh my goodness. Fastest lap so far, currently a 1:09.15 for Sidewinder there. Civics making up, having a tussle into the first braking zone of the lap. 10 laps to go now. This is where it really starts to count. And again, we're seeing a lot of these drivers shift up earlier to 8th gear. I don't quite understand what the reasoning is behind that. Maybe it's just 7th gear isn't working in a lot of these cars. It's Civics. Can't quite make it past. Will Gibson now joins the penalty club with, I believe, his first 3 seconds. Yes, it is. A few moments ago. With Civics right on the back of this Williams, as is Babaton in the fight for the final podium place ahead of him. Duke Kaboom and Rashid probably really feeling it on those old hard compound tires, but they have to go another 10 laps it would seem. 9 after this one as Rashid crosses the line. There's a yellow flag. That's one of the Haas around. That's Will Gibson. Will Gibson is around in the infield. We'll right on board with Babaton to see if he's able to make this move. Looks like he'll be just staying behind for the time being. So we'll go back on with Will. And he is deep in that infield. We have a yellow flag. No virtual safety cars to spark from that one. But a massive lock up there. Locks up all 4. As he is missing a large portion of that rear wing. Or that, not the rear wing. Maybe next same rear wing. But that front wing is in a lot of bad shape. And he'll have to come back into the pit lane. Get that replaced. And yes, so that's the 2nd time he has received front wing damage. And we'll see how where he pops out. He should be ahead of Gorzieg still, but it is going to be tight with that wing change. Now Babaton, 4/10 is the gap between himself and Duke Kaboom. Is he going to go for the move this time? Let's see the ERS, 41% for Babaton, 46 on Duke Kaboom. So basically all there, and it looks like Duke Kaboom actually might be getting DRS off of his teammate. Word at the lap car, no, not quite. He will probably have DRS into turn 4 though, and that could be huge as Will Gibson now going through. There's a yellow flag ahead. I do believe that might be Striffium, one of the Ferraris. Yes, it is indeed Striffium. Unfortunate to see him around once again. He has to wait for all of his cars. It looks like he's going to go after Holtz. So he now drops a lap down to his fellow countryman. Jack 5 now. Very, very close on the back. We also see a massive scrap there for 15th place. Or 14th place behind Sidewinder. Going through into the duckbill. Will Gibson. Just keep an eye on that gap as well. Jack can't make a move into turn number 4. So we'll have a look here. Larkin and Gibson are very, very close. The short shift from Larkin up into 5th gear. And let's look at the speed there from the Haas car on those fresh softs. Now switches to the outside. The Haas car goes easily past the Williams. Now it'll be Larkin's turn to try and make a move past Gorzieg. Gorzieg picking up a 3-second time penalty, not getting the best run through. Larkin right on the back as there's now an exchange as well up the front of things. Babaton now making his way past Dookie Boom. And now Wordad is going to give DRS to Babaton to hold on to that position and try and pull away. And then he'll have to yield to the blue flags at risk of getting those 5-second time penalties. So not quite sure if there was an issue between those two there. But Larkin, 3 seconds now as he is now fighting with Gauzier. Can't quite make the move into turn number 4. We saw a little bit of a tap there between those two as well. Stripping now into the pit lane for the last 7 laps of the race. Will Gibson now getting past Sidewinder into turn 13 and the final sector. But he made that move too early. I don't know if Sidewinder's going to really use the battery to fight this. Gibson is using all of the battery, going for that fastest lap as well. Let's see, has he gotten it? No, not quite. He's 3/10 off of Sidewinder behind him for that final point. Although he is outside the top 10 and is nowhere close to getting inside. And if there's a safety car, he will be, well, down and out for the count. But a lot of drivers with penalties on this grid. Henna's got past Rashid as well. Apologies for missing that one. But Henna's now 1.6 seconds ahead of the Renault. Striffium there, abating blue flags, getting out of the way. Quite a difficult spot to get out of the way, actually. It's very narrow, that section of the track, for 2 cars to go through side by side. But no issues there, which is what you love to see. Unfortunate to see Striffium down a minute, though. So we see Wodad doing the same, letting his teammate past. Unfortunately, though, his teammate Duke Kaboom has lost that DRS. 1.7 seconds now is the gap between those two. Closest gap on track right now currently is between Larkin and Gauzier. He is using that ERS and DRS, but Gauzier, a lot of straight line speed on that Williams, and he's using that and that DRS ahead to Sidewinder to stay ahead. This is the fight, of course, for 15th place, with Sidewinder leading this 3-way battle. But all 3 of these guys are going to have to obey the blue flags very soon, as Hennes is coming up very close behind them. Striffium very close to Rashid, but he can't quite overtake, and probably isn't allowed to overtake, as he will need to obey blue flags straight after. But you can see the difference between 29 lap old hards and fresh softs. Despite Striffium being one of the slower drivers on this grid based on raw ability and pace, this tyre is just too much at the moment. And Striffium is a lot of pace trapped behind this Renault. So we'll see if he opts to get past, push and try and break that gap. But again, he mounts that inside curb. You have to be very, very careful doing that. As Larkin now gets passed by Hennes. Hennes now making his way through the traffic as he starts lap 33 of 36. So only a few laps to go in this one. Rashid now 3.3 seconds behind, just trying to conserve those tyres and make sure they make it to the end of this race. Now Hennes, DRS wide open now as he makes his way past Gauzier. Gauzier get the next driver to fall a lap down. So 16th through to 19th now, a lap down to our race leader, the Tier 2 our McLaren driver. Show him what he can do. Steph making his way past Duke Kaboom. Those old hards really not looking pretty at the moment. You can just see barely. I don't know how well it comes through on the YouTube, but I can see on my screen, especially on that front right, just the graining and just how that tyre has deformed throughout. Gauzier going off track now, having a bit of an issue. Not 100% sure what happened to him. But what I am sure about is that Civics is right on the back of Duke Kaboom now. The next target to get past this racing point, and he needs to if he wants to stay within that 3-second gap of Steph to try and get that 4th place. DRS now. ERS down to 0 though. Does he have the speed? They're side by side now, heading into the braking zone. And Duke just lets him go. Can't really fight that one too hard with the tyres that he's got on at the moment. He has to make sure that he just manages them and make sure that they make it to the end of this race. Civics now well within that 3-second window We have a yellow flag. That's one of the race points. That's Wordad. Way in the infield. In the final sector. And Sidewinder has left the session, unfortunately, for these last few laps. You hate to see it. But it is, unfortunately, how things go sometimes. I believe that was Civics getting past Wordad now. The Mercedes in 5th place. Actually, no. That was Paula. Paula getting past Wordad. So Paula has it lapped up to Wordad now as well. Those two going back at it. You know it, it's Sidewinder and Larkin. Although Sidewinder, his AI. Losing a few places to Larkin now. Well, losing a lot of time there. He might actually goes off to Gorziak. He should be safe. Especially with, Gauzy's penalty. He probably will only lose position to Larkin. But this does give Larkin the space to make up that 3-second time penalty gap on the Red Bull driver for 14th place. Henner's now on the penultimate lap, going through the middle sector of the lap. He's done very, very well. Played the strategy perfectly. Cheerio. Right on the back of Jack. He's got the speed. He's looking up the inside. There's another tap. Quite a hefty hit as well between the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Can the Ferrari find what he needs into the final, well, into the braking zone of turn 8? No, not quite. He does have these guys on penalties, both him and Captain Minor on penalties, so he does have an 8th place at least. Hennes picks up a 3-second time penalty now on the final lap. But with the penalties, he's now even with Rashid. But a 6.7 second gap is going to mean that he is there. And Duke Kaboom, he's got a puncture somewhere. I think it's a rear puncture. It is a rear right puncture, and he has to come into the pits. So the gamble not quite working out for him, and he can't steal fastest lap. Because, well, this is the last lap. He's already passed that timing line. And he's going to lose out to, he's going to lose out to JA as well. JA now, he has those that time penalty, as does Duke Kaboom. So Duke Kaboom with that puncture has gone from a top 3 to he's out of the points now. Unless he can find his way past JA in the dying stages of this race. Cheery can't quite find it as Hennes coming across the line now to take the win. Looks like Rashid will come across in 2nd. But 3rd place on the podium is all up for grabs now. Looks like Babaton will hold off Steph. Of course, Steph with that penalty as well. So Babaton will round out the podium. Will Gibson will steal the fastest lap down number 17, the 1 minute 8.8. A unfortunate race for him. Holtz will come across the line in 6th. Captain Minor in 7th. But we'll have to see how it goes between himself, Jack and Cheery. Looks like Cheery just holding it, playing it safe. And he will go into 8th place. Jack into 8th. Cheery into 7th, I should say. Jack into 8th. Captain Minor into 9th. JA will round out the top 10 after Duke's puncture. He will have to settle for 11th. And that gamble, it worked for Rashid. He was able to make those tyres last, but not quite the racing point that went with him. So Waffle on 20 lap old hards is in 12th place. Paula in 13th with Larkin, Sidewinder, Gorziak, etc. all a lap down in this one. But quite a thrilling race here in Interlagos for the penultimate round of MRL Season 4 as the pre-season tester for this America's Tier 2 grid. Trying to get some interest from the massive pool of America's division reserves that we have. But there we go, Hennes for AlphaTauri in this one. Taking the win. Ahead of the two Renaults. Two Renaults. On the podium. Babaton in 3rd place after his win. So another solid performance. I'm sure he'll be happy with that one. I don't know if we'll be able to get interviews with our top 3. We'll have to wait and see. But there we go. Hennes, your race winner. With a time of 43 minutes, 44 seconds and 9.29. almost another second there. Rashid in the Renault car. Bol drops to second place, runner-up spot he'll have to settle for after the hards just gave way at the end of the race. Babaton, his teammate, rounds off the podium. The driver representing Canada there. Very, very nice done. Sifix in fourth place ahead of Steph. For Williams, we have Holtz there, the Canadian, in sixth place. Very, very good, solid performance from him. Ahead of Chiri, the two guys who are in America's Tier 1, going 6th and 7th. So Holtz ahead of Chiri. We'll see if that can translate into the race in a few moments' time for America's Tier 1. Catch that live on the Twitch channel. Jack 5 there for Red Bull. In 8th place, Captain Minor in 9th, and JA rounds out the top 10. Outside of the points, we have Duke Boom after that unfortunate puncture to his rear right tyre in the penultimate lap of the race. He'll have to settle for no points whatsoever. Waffle behind him in 12th. Paula in 13th. Larkin in 14th. The first of the drivers to be lapped by our race winner. Sidewinder in 15th. Gorzieg and Will Gibson, as well as Wordad, all one lap down. And Streffium, unfortunately, 2 laps down on Henners in the end of things. And I'll have a quick look at the Discord now. See if we can get any interviews. Looks like we might actually have some. I see Henners here in the Discord. But I don't see the others, unfortunately. We'll see if Henners wants an interview, but I'm not hopeful. It looks like he's just staying in there with the rest of the drivers. So we will call it there. That is the America's Tier 2. Very, very America's Tier 2. Very, very nicely done from those guys. And yeah, be sure to catch out America's Tier 1 in a few moments' time. So this has been Mikcow, and I'll see you all for America's Tier 1 in a few moments. I'll see you then.